In this league, you don't always get a shot at redemption. But here we are. This season, we faced adversity with resilience, overcame the crushing weight of expectations, and reminded everybody what the Kansas City Chiefs are all about.
To win the game in overtime.
All to end up right back where we wanted to be.
Kansas City playing for the AFC Championship.
Now, with the finish line in sight, the next step is to right our wrongs. And bring the Lamar Hunt Trophy back home.
It was 364 days ago, nearly a year to the day, that the Chiefs came up just short against Cincinnati in the AFC Championship game. Every single moment since that loss has been about getting back to this stage, and as fate would have it, we've got a rematch for the AFC title. We are 2 hours from kickoff. You've waited all week for this very moment. It's finally here. It is time for football in Chiefs Kingdom. Let's do this. My name is Matt McMullen, joined by voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Olthus. This is Field Pass, presented by Storage Mart. And Mitch, every second, hour, minute, everything since that loss in the AFC title game last year has been about getting back to this stage here today.
And just remarkable to capture the moment, if you will, just to be in this game 5 straight times. Only one team has done it more in the history of the NFL, and that's the Patriots. But to host it 5 straight times is an ongoing National Football League record. It's been a long climb for both of these teams to get to this point, but here we are, and we're here on this hallowed ground, Andy's Acre at the 39th parallel line.
Yeah, it says so much about this team that they use that pain, that frustration from last year's loss as fuel to get back to this moment, right? It's all about perseverance. And speaking about perseverance, let's talk about our quarterback and Patrick Mahomes, because that guy is the epitome of perseverance. He had the most talked about ankle in the world this past week, but the good news is he's a full go here today. He was a full participant in practice all week long. Coach Reed said he looked good in practice throughout the week, and he had no injury designation entering this game, meaning he had no question if he was going to play or not on Friday, which is excellent news. With all that in mind, what are your expectations for Patrick here today?
Well, he's such an incredible competitor, and he's burning to win this game. I think the whole playbook's in play. Of course, this is the most vast offensive playbook in the National Football League, and I think everything's in play. He may not run sprint options this week. I doubt it. Maybe he will. Who knows? But he had a good week of practice. I had a great visit with him, just kind of chopping it up. He's in a great spot mentally, so, I mean, let's go. PM15 is going to give everything he's got to win this game.
So he's played 10 career playoff games in this building, I believe. The Chiefs have averaged 34 points per game in all of those playoff games. Hopefully we can see another performance like that here in this one. And for more on what to expect from Patrick here today, I caught up with former Chief Kyle Long earlier this week. All right, we're joined now by former Chief Kyle Long. He's now an analyst on that other pregame show on CBS Sports Network. And Kyle, you're a great person to talk about this because you were in this locker room just last year on this offense. And I want to ask you about this offense. Obviously, with Patrick Mahomes, the ankle was a big story all week long. Coach Reed said he looked good in practice all week, which is great news. What are your expectations for the Chiefs offense here in this game against the talented Bengals defense?
My expectations for the Chiefs offense is this. They can't do too much early on in the game. My expectation is that the first 15 is going to be built so Patrick doesn't have to do too much physically from a mobility standpoint. I think they're going to have to really rely on the running game. You're going to see Andy Reid flip to pages potentially in the playbook that he hasn't been in a long time. Or that he's opened up in special situations when Chad Henne comes in a playoff game or with the season on the line. I think that the run game is going to be huge. Also, you look at Kadarius Toney's health. We're going to potentially see the ball in his hand a multitude of ways in a multitude of areas. Obviously, the big guy is 87, Travis, and everything goes through Travis. And I think that he can be used in such a multitude of ways. You can distract people with him. You can block at the point of attack with him. You can have, I don't know if you're going to have Patrick getting outside of contain. You've seen Patrick break contain with Travis being his personal protector on the outside. But I think that the ball's going to be out. You talked about 2.5 seconds with Joe Burrow. I'd love to be in the 2.8 to 3 second range with Patrick. And the onus really falls on the offensive line. And I remember being in offensive line rooms and having the chat with the head coach before the game in the hotel. The entire team's there, and they say, "O-line, we're going to ride you. This thing will come down to whether we win up front." And the same goes for the defensive line. When I think about the Chiefs defensively, I think about Chris Jones and his potential matchups, some of the things that Spags is going to have to do to get home, because as we know, the blitz is not something that you want to rely on against Joe Burrow, because he will make you pay. And he did it in week 13. He did it last year. I think that we have to win our rushes, our one-on-one rushes when we get opportunities. I wouldn't be surprised to see Chris over the right tackle. I think that the right tackle's softer set really gives Chris an opportunity to get that power rush in there, and which will set up some of his finesse rushes. I think it's going to be a great game. It all comes down to getting after the quarterback. Can the Bengals win in the A and B gap against the offensive line to get in Patrick's lap? And can the Chiefs win to get Joe Burrow off his spot, potentially throw an interception, force one turnover? I think the X factor is going to be Harrison Butker. I think it's going to be a one-possession game.
Yeah, you make some great points. It seems basic, but football is always won in the trenches, right? Who has the better offensive and defensive line, and who has more want to in those situations? Which leads me to my other question for you. When Patrick left the game last week against the Jaguars, Chad Henne comes in, right? And everyone seemed to elevate their game just a tick. Like, the Chiefs already have immense focus, but everyone took it up just one notch, and they continued that throughout the rest of the game, even when Patrick came back in. Can you kind of bring us into that mindset? What's that like to have to elevate your game just a little bit? And how can the Chiefs carry that into this game?
Well, I will say that as it goes for Patrick, I haven't seen a guy with that type of competitiveness. I've never played with a guy like that. And to see it on TV last week, I just felt like, one of my brothers was injured. And, I initially was like, get him out of the game. Chad's good. Put him in, put Chad in, get him out. I thought the Chiefs would have won the game with Chad in the game. But that's not my call. I'm not Andy Reid. I'm not any of those guys. I will say that the mindset for a team playing with an injured quarterback and somebody who's dealing with any kind of physical issue is we have to elevate our game. I take a look at the Cowboys and what they were able to do with their backup quarterback this year. But my point is this, the level of awareness, the level of caution, the level of attention to detail goes through the roof when you've got an injury like that to your quarterback, and he is the engine to your vehicle.
Yeah, I think it said a lot about the team that we have here in Kansas City. Patrick obviously and deservingly gets a lot of the credit, but it really showed how everyone on this team is why it's a championship caliber squad, and hopefully they can carry that here into this one as the Chiefs try to win another AFC title. Kyle, awesome stuff, man. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot, Matt.
Hopefully on the field, not.
Yeah. All right, great stuff there from Kyle Long. Now from one former Chief to another, we're now joined by one of the greatest players in franchise history. It's
one of
Derek
my all-time
Johnson.
favorites. This is one of my all-timers, man.
Oh,
What's going on, DJ?
Nothing much.
awesome.
Just, man, I can't wait for the game. So I'm not used to this cold, I gotta say. But I tell you what, I know our guys already.
Well, we're glad you're here, man.
Yes.
Now, first question for you. We saw when Patrick went out last week, then came back in, fighting through that injury. Yeah. How does that motivate a defense when you can pick up your quarterback like that?
You know what? This is an ultimate team game. So whenever you see a player down, you have to pick up on some parts of the game. And I tell you what, when your quarterback's down, the leader of this team, the leader of the franchise, and if you can make a difference on defense, stopping the run, stopping third and short, being able to get after the quarterback. And we did that last week. Hopefully we can do that this week. That's the plan. I tell you what, man, you're going to see defense get after Burrow today. That's what we have to do. Pat's going to do his deal, but we know he may have a little trouble outside of the pocket. So we just need to do our deal on defense side of the ball.
DJ, that's my follow-up. These cats warming up right behind us have not lost since Halloween. You played the Peyton Manning Colts and Broncos. Yeah. You played the Tom Brady Patriots in the heyday. Yeah. Where do you start when you play an offense that's this comprehensive?
Yeah, absolutely. Where you stop the run, even though the quarterback is sensational, you stop the run first. The first thing you have to do is stop the run with Joe Mixon, big running back there. So Bill Walls up front, set the edge on the outside, and then you got to put him in third and long situation and get this great crowd, the best fans in the world, get them involved on third and long. and get after this freaking quarterback. I'm telling you, it's gonna be awesome to see. I might sneak on the field. You know, George has my number, but maybe they'll throw me something else.
You can still play, man. I think you can do it.
Oh, no question.
Now, one guy who we talk about a lot in comparison to you is Nick Bolton.
Yeah.
Hopefully Nick can have a big game here in this one. I'm curious for your thoughts on Nick. You ever find yourself watching him?
Man, all the time. That's who I watch. Nick is a guy, he's a second-year player, but you talk about a guy that's all over the field. He's a veteran. In my book, he's a veteran. He's a guy, broke my record this year as far as tackles for single season. You talk about a guy that's very smart, very tough. We're going to need him to be the center of the defense and be all over the field today. And he's got big shoes to fill to make sure that defense is very, very good today to stop the run and just choreographing everything when it comes to the defense. So I'm a Nick Bolton fan, by the way. Really, I am.
By the way, it was very classy because I quote tweeted you, and then I said classy, because you were the first human to congratulate Nick on breaking your record. That's awesome. Not all players do that.
No,
We
absolutely.
know that.
Yes, sir.
Now, you mentioned cold. Playing in the cold as a defender, as a linebacker, what is it like playing in these? Because you said tackle these guys, stop the run. That's easier said than done. How do you play in the cold?
You know what? It's tough. The person that has the advantage, the ones that have the great mindset when you're out in the cold, you got to forget about it. You know, all that warm stuff in there, lather up, do whatever you need to do. But when you get out there on this field, you can't be thinking about anything. It's harder to tackle in the cold. It's harder to catch in the cold. It's harder to throw. It's harder to do everything in the cold. So it doesn't lean more to the offense or defense. But at the same time, whoever has the best mindset, which we do, we're at home. So I'm looking for us to get after the running game, catch the ball really well on our side of the ball, and just have it's going to be a great game. So I can't say that we're going to jump all over them because this is a great team that's coming in here. But I tell you what, our fans are going to help us to win this game today.
Last question for you, then we'll let you go. You mentioned the fans. What's it mean to you that your playing days are done, but you come here? I mean, there's a guy over here shouting your name over and over again. These fans love you so much. What's that mean to you to still be such a part of Chiefs Kingdom? You
know what? I never knew anything about the Midwest before I got here in 2005. But I tell you what, they left an impression in me for something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. The best fans in the world. You talk about the support. I've been through the ups and downs. So I tell you what, man, they are so loyal. And to see them calling my name, still got some 56 jerseys out here that has Johnson on the back. Yep. It's pretty cool to see that. And, man, the fans are what makes it all special. And today you'll see that.
Yeah. You're the best, man. Chiefs Kingdom loves you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Have fun today, all right?
Yes, sir. I will.
Let's get the win.
Best. Absolutely the best. What an amazing dude. I wish he had the chance. He won one playoff game.
Yeah.
He was here from 05 to 17, and he played in won one playoff game. He had the big strip sack in the game against the Titans, and they said it was, the worst calls in the history of postseason football. But that guy is an amazing cat, and I do mean it. A lot of players don't want to see their records broken. He was the first guy to congratulate Nick Bolton when Nick broke his single-season tackle record. I thought it was amazingly classy move by Derek Johnson. You won't find a better dude than Derek Johnson.
Yeah, he's the best. This is why Chiefs Kingdom is so special. Every franchise brings back their legends, but he's such a part of it here today. And there's so many former Chiefs here today enjoying this and embracing it because they're still a part of it, right? They're not just distanced from it now.
No, and that's the Hunt family, too. I really appreciate what the Hunt family does in welcoming those guys. That conduit and those doors stay open, and that's not always the case. It has always been the case here, and it's also Brett Veach and Andy Reid. Andy Reid cherishes these guys. He'll bring in former players to talk to our current team all the time. Andy Reid gets the history of this franchise, and he gets the history of the NFL. So to those guys who we welcome, it means a lot to them, but then they also understand what they can do to help these guys on the field.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Awesome hearing from Derek Johnson. Now let's talk about this game a little bit. Derek was a very physical player, right? And let's talk about being physical in this game. And we'll start on the offensive side of the ball for the Chiefs because I think the running game could be a big part of the game plan here today. And they did that last week. I mean, look at Isaiah Pacheco last week. Rushed for 95 yards on just 12 carries. That included a huge 39-yard rush on Chad Henne's 98-yard touchdown drive. We're not sure what Patrick Mahomes' mobility will look like, but running the football either way will help him a lot in this game.
Let me take it a step further. It's not just the run game, which I totally agree with, but it's also the short passing game to the running backs. Think of that 6 to 8 to 10 yards. It's what Cincinnati does, especially with Samaje Perine. But either it's Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon in the game on December the 4th had 0 targets in that game. 0 targets. Think what he's done as a touchdown machine in the red zone. So I'm with you. The run game is imperative today. It's not it's not a luxury. It's a necessity. But I'm going to lump in the short passing game to the running backs, whether it's a screen or an angle route or a circle route, any of that. Lump that into the run game because, to me, that's the same category.
And that all kind of worked back in Week 13, right? I mean, look at Isaiah Pacheco. He rushed for 66 yards and a touchdown back in Week 13 against Cincinnati. He averaged 4.7 yards per carry in that game. And Jerick McKinnon rushed for 51 yards in that game, averaged 6.4 yards per carry, also caught a touchdown. It's so important to do that against these guys because they don't have the sack numbers, but this is one of the best defensive lines in all of football.
No question. And it's a group that is very resourceful, and the engine runs hard. If you look at what these guys have done, you look at Trey Hendrickson, he leads the league in quarterback pressures for 3 years in a row. That's an amazing stat. But DJ Reader, excellent, way underrated. They're so underrated. This is the most underrated defensive front in the NFL, and very difficult to handle.
Yeah, they've been very impressive. Now, Cincinnati has won 10 straight games. You think about their offense, you're thinking, well, Joe Burrow's probably throwing 5 touchdowns a game, right? That's not really the recipe lately, despite all of these victories. In fact, in their last 8 games, all wins, they've scored more than 30 points just one time. They haven't needed to score a whole lot because their defense has been so good. During their 10-game winning streak, they're only allowing 18.4 points per game. They shut down Buffalo, and that's a great offense, just last week. So beyond just the running game, which we just talked about, what are some other areas the Chiefs could attack here today to find success offensively?
Well, they're going to give you a short passing game, and the wide receivers have to step up enough. In the game on December the 4th, there were only 12 targets to wide receivers and only 10 catches for 83 yards. Now, Cincinnati will play a lot of zone. They disguise it. We know about that. And Coach Onaruma has been given clinics or whatever. But the wide receivers have got to be a force. And you'll get your shots today, but mainly the underneath route. Catch it, be tough with the ball once you catch it, because these guys like to strip it out. The biggest play on December the 4th was Kelsey getting stripped of the ball after a 19-yard gain. Chiefs are up for driving at midfield. So they would have won that game if they go get a 2-possession lead. So you can get it underneath, but you're going to have the mindset that DJ talked about. Catch it, and then protect it and attack all at the same time. It's something I talked with Coach Reed about this week.
Yeah, and the good news for the Chiefs, sure, they've lost 3 straight games to Cincinnati, but they haven't really had trouble moving the football, right? I mean, they're averaging 26 points per game in those 3 losses. Now, hopefully they can find some more consistency in this game. The second half was the problem last year, but they have moved the ball on these guys, and we'll see if they can replicate that here in this one. Now, the Bengals do have a pretty good offense as well. We've talked about them a bit, and it all begins with their quarterback in Joe Burrow. He was second to only Patrick Mahomes in terms of touchdown passes this year with 35. What stands out to you about Joe Burrow?
I think they've altered their approach. With Joe Burrow earlier in the career, remember how many times he was sacked? It was like, they're going to get this guy killed. And he tore his ACL in 2020, his first year. But he's been sacked an inordinate amount of times. So what have they done? They've adjusted their passing game. You brought up the stat all week long of the 2.55 time to throw, second in the league. So what they've done, they've also used the short passing game to running backs or to Hayden Hurst. They'll take their shot at Jamar Chase, but they'll throw the ball short to Jamar Chase too. You know the most underrated stat in these games between these two teams? Time of possession. In the game in the AFC Championship game a year ago on this weekend, the Cincinnati Bengals had the ball 36 minutes.
Wow.
36 minutes. In the game on December the 4th, Matt, the Bengals had the ball over 32 minutes. The Chiefs only had 8 possessions in that game. They scored on 4. They turned it over on 2. But they only had 8 possessions. You got to get these guys off the field. They controlled the game against Buffalo, but they switched up their offensive approach more than I think people have realized in the NFL.
Yeah, got to tackle in this game. Cannot have missed tackles in this game on those short passes. Yeah. But when Burrow hangs on to the football, which he's still going to do sometimes, you've got to get to him. Now, one of the storylines this week is that they're missing 3 of their starting 5 offensive linemen. Right now, they were very good last week against Buffalo, only allowed 1 sack, I believe. And part of that is the average time to throw for Burrow. It's the second fastest, like you said, of any quarterback in the NFL this season, behind only Tom Brady. He was even faster than his average last week. His average time to throw last week was 2.46 seconds.
Wow.
Again, though, every once in a while, he's going to hang on to the football. He's not going to give you a lot of chances to get after him, but when he does, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, all of those guys have to make him pay for it.
And you have to alter the throws at the line of scrimmage. Remember, I talk about it every week, but this is going to start to catch momentum in discussions throughout the offseason. Knocking down passes or affecting the physics of the throw. This is a really good Chiefs defense at doing that, even if you can't get to him. You have got to disrupt his rhythm and tactics, and I would say disrupt his physics. When somebody gets rid of the ball that fast, Matt, you've got to have hands up. You may not knock it down, but you can get a finger on the ball. That affects the physics and the aerodynamics of the throw, and you can even get a takeaway on it. So it's a matter of getting a push, trying to disrupt them, but also hands up. Disrupt passes in this game as much as you can.
And we know that's possible because, sure, the Bengals really avoided that last week against Buffalo, but Baltimore was in the backfield consistently against these guys just 2 weeks ago in the wild card round. They got Burrow for 4 sacks in that game. There was pressure throughout the game. The Bengals really never looked comfortable in that one, and that's because I think Baltimore was the more physical team in that game, and that's important for the Chiefs here today. They've got to be the more physical team, and part of that is also stopping the run. We talk all about Burrow and all their weapons in the passing game, and for good reason, but these guys rushed for 172 yards against Buffalo last week. The Chiefs cannot let that happen. If you want to stop Cincinnati, it begins with stopping their rushing attack.
And Piran had a hundo on us in the game on December the 4th. He had 150 total purpose yards. Mixon didn't play in that game. It was all Piran, and that was enough for them. But can I stop one myth? Can I stop one myth here on Field Pass right now? That is the myth of, it's the Cincinnati backup offensive lineman. Oh, my gosh, these guys, they fought him at a garage sale and it's the Alamo. Stop it. Akeem Adeneji's the right tackle. You KU fans will remember him being all Big 12 at KU. He started every playoff game last year, including the Super Bowl. This will be his 7th playoff start. Stop it. Right guard, Max Sharpring. He started every game for Houston when he was with the Texans in the playoffs. This will be his 6th playoff start. These aren't back. Nope. The lone exception is the left tackle. But the other 4 are starters. And so don't go, oh my gosh, it's the backup offensive line. Stop it. It's a myth.
They are missing some actual starters. Now, they're good players, the backups are, but the guys that they're missing are offensive guard Alex Kappa, got a big free agent deal in the offseason. He has an ankle injury. He is out. He has not played since the regular season finale. And also left tackle Jonah Williams with a knee injury. He's out. He got hurt in the wild card game a few weeks ago against Baltimore. And then starting right tackle Lyle Collins got hurt in week 16. He's on injured reserve. So they're missing these guys, but you're 100% right. These other guys have come in and they have experience. They've stepped in, and they were really good against Buffalo last week and a very good defensive line. What are you expecting from Chris Jones and Frank Clark and our guys along our defensive line here today against these guys?
I'm expecting awesome things from them. I think they can win this game. Chris Jones doesn't have to have a sack. Everybody's like, he hadn't had a playoff sack yet. He may get one in this game, but he can disrupt it. I think he'll be better than any Buffalo defensive lineman last week. I think these guys are on a mission, and you've got 10 guys. They've all have played good ball this year. Carlos Dunlap wants this game more than any human in this place, okay? Let's just be honest. When you play 10 and a half years with a team and you're playing him in the AFC Championship, you want to beat him. Mike Dana is the most underrated guy maybe on the defense. Colin Saunders playing the best football of his career. Derek Nottie knows what playing in this game is all about. Brandon Williams has a ton of experience in a game like this, the old Missouri Southern State Lion. I hope I didn't leave anybody out, but the point is that's 10, and Frank, you mentioned Frank, that's 10 dudes that you can rotate on a cold day. They've got to play the run. You've got to play your assignment. Don't try to gamble or try to do something where I'm going to go off the grid, because that's when Cincinnati will get you. But I think this defensive front today could carry the day. In fact, I'll just call it. They'll carry the day.
And they seemed locked in all week, didn't they? Like Chris on Friday.
Oh, boy. You saw their looks. You saw their looks all week. I saw these dudes all week. They're like, So we'll see.
Now, we'll get the inactives here any moment. It's going to be a pretty interesting inactives segment.
I'm sitting there trying to watch our warm-ups, and especially Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued with what this inactive is going to look like.
Yeah, some guys that were questionable coming into this game. Travis Kelce was a late add to the injury report on Friday with a back injury. We'll know if he's going to play or not any moment now when we get the inactives, and we just got him. All right, great news, Chiefs Kingdom. Travis Kelce is active for this game. Travis Kelce is active for this game, as is Mecole Hardman.
Yep, Hardman's going to play. That's been a late move,
So Travis Kelce, Mecole Hardman both active. No Justin Watson in this game. He is inactive. He was listed as questionable with an illness.
But it's also numbers. If you're going to have both Hardman and Tony up, you can't have Watson up. You can't have a zillion wide receivers. So That's why that's there. This is the best news of the day, dude. I'm telling you. I was expecting the worst. That's great news.
That's terrific news. Now, it looks like Blake Bell is inactive.
Yep. Oh, so they're going to go with 3 tight ends. But that's Jody Fortson.
Yep.
We haven't talked about Jody Fortson. Can we talk about Jody Fortson?
Yes.
Jody Fortson could be key in this game because you have that hybrid now, right? We haven't seen Jody Fortson for how long? Jody Fortson can do a lot of stuff, and he can take some heat off Kelsey. It's big that Fortson will be in this game.
Yeah, Jody, of course, was on injured reserve, hasn't played in about 5 weeks, but he was activated after practicing this week, activated yesterday, and Jody Fortson is back for the Chiefs. But, man, that's awesome news having Travis Kelce. There's a lot of anxiety, I think, in this stadium wondering, is Travis Kelce going to play? The answer is yes. Travis Kelce is active. He is going to play. So last question for you, Mitch. With Kelce now in the fold, what are your expectations with McCole Hardman finally back and our offense really at full strength here?
All right, just look at the whole file of the offense. I don't know where you got it. You got it on a thumb drive, you got it on an iPad, you might have it in the Smithsonian Institution. Everything's in play here. Now, Patrick's mobility is at 100%. It'd be probably presumptuous to think it would be. But I'm telling you, with what we've seen on that report, everything's in play. Cincinnati's really good. You might argue they've been the best, maybe the best team in the league right now. They haven't lost since Halloween. But that defense is going to have to deal with the whole load of the Chiefs offense. The whole load. Because we haven't seen Hardman and Toney ever play together, right? Yeah. Ever. All right, so it's on. And I'll just say this. You can dislike the Chiefs. You can doubt the Chiefs. You can disrespect the Chiefs. But now you're going to have to deal with the Chiefs and the entire offense.
It's going to be a challenge, but what an opportunity this is for the Chiefs here today to hopefully, in about 4 hours, hoist their 3rd Lamar Hunt Trophy in 4 years. For Mitch Holthus, I'm Matt McMullen. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Let's go get a victory!